Okay, there's almost 15 people that have connected now, so we'll get started. Okay, the first thing all of you have to do is make sure that your mic is on mute and unmute it when you want to speak or say something. There's still some echo from somewhere, or someone's mic is still on. We'll figure that out. It's not a problem. So thank you, and what's here? All right. Someone on the queue. Right. Thank you, and welcome once again. This is your second lecture, and this is the week 2 of our semester. Okay, the normal university semester is in week 4, but we started 2 weeks late, so we are in week 2, and we will continue going like this until I arrive on campus in week 8. And after week 7, there is 1 week mid-semester break. What we will try to do is use that week again for online mode of lectures, tutorials, and labs. And we'll catch up 1 week there and then, and I hope to catch up the other week in week 8. And then from week 9 or week 10 onwards, we will be on par with the normal university semester. Okay, so what I'm going to take you is, I've got all the course assessments ready now. I'm going to talk about all the course assessments of this course, and then we will look at the lecture of this week, which is on cloud computing. And I would also like to introduce the XML technology, because your assignment 1 is on XML, and we'll get going from there onwards. So let me share the PowerPoint slide. Okay, and I'm going to stop the video because you don't want to keep on looking at me. Right. So now and again, just because I am I'm not on a video mode anymore, I will stop now and again to ask if everyone is still online, if everyone can still see my PowerPoint slides, and if everything is fine. So the first thing I want to confirm is, are you able to hear my voice clearly?
Yep.
Or is there too much echo or anything like that? You are able to hear my voice clearly?
Yeah, there is a bit of an echo, but it's understandable.
I'll try to put my volume down and see if things improve, and I'll try to push this laptop a bit far away. Probably I'm speaking too directly into my laptop. I'm using a laptop. So What about now? Is it a bit better than before?
Definitely better than before.
Hold on. Is if you guys are if anyone is in the IDS lab, which is the host of this Zoom, if you could adjust the volume here or something, please. Is Vinay over there? No. Anyway, so I will continue, and this lecture is being recorded, and I will place the recording of this lecture on your course Moodle page, and you can go and listen to it again, or you can go and uh, uh, clarify anything that probably you miss while we are going through the motions. Okay, let me see. There is something on the chat. Okay, all right, all good from Latoka. All right, thank you. So I'm going to take you through a few slides. This week the topic of the lecture is cloud computing. We are going to look at cloud computing, but first some housekeeping and some course overview and what we are going to do in the course in terms of assessment so that we can get going. So any questions from the last session? In the last session, in the last lecture that we did, we went to the course outline. We had a comprehensive look at the course outline and what the course was about, the assessments, and the rest of the stuff. Any questions from there? No? Can I move on? Any questions from the last lecture? No?
No questions.
Yeah, you got a question? Yes,
No
Safia?
questions.
No, sir, all good. I don't have any questions for now.
All right, all right. That's good, that's good. Okay. I would rather that when I ask a question, you speak back to me, not type it in the chat because it then distracts me and I have to do a few clicks to go and see what you have written. So just unmute your microphone and respond. This is not a one-way lecture. This is not a one-way class. This is supposed to be two-way. So please interact. Please,
Sorry, sir.
feel free to speak whenever you want to. Okay. All right. I hope you have gone through the practical labs, which were on HTML and CSS, and these HTML codes and CSS is there, and it enables you to create web pages. But what we are going to do is we are going to look at some more of those HTML on the advanced HTML side. And I would also introduce JavaScript. After that, we'll move on to XML because XML allows us to manipulate information from database. For example, when you are doing a Google search for a particular keyword or for a particular information, when you type that in the Google search engine, JavaScript comes into action and XML comes into action, and it goes and actually searches Google database for all those keywords, and then it generates all those hits and links for you. Okay, so we have 20 participants now. That's good. So yeah, more labs are supposed to come. I haven't put up any labs this week, but definitely there will be some labs next week. Any questions from the tutorials? I know there is no assessment towards the tutorial, but this is for your own learning. Please log in and contribute to whatever you think is your own opinion or whatever you get from watching that video. Okay, Any questions about the research paper? Students have been sending me requests for the topics that they want to do, and most of them have been allocated the topics of the choice. That is the first topic of the choice. At least 4 topics are full now, which I'm going to update on the course Moodle page, and then you will be required to choose some other topic. Again, as I said, it's on a first come first served basis. Any questions at all about the research paper? I have prepared something in terms of how you will get off and get started writing a research paper that we are going to look at later on in the next few slides. But yeah, I mean, please, if there is any question, if I cannot answer straight away, I'll note it down and I'll get back to you on that. On Tuesday, I conducted the IS413 lecture, and the students over there are also doing research papers on topics related to information management and some similar topics. And they have requested, just because I want the research papers to have in-text citations and references in APA style and formatting and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload some information about APA in-text citations and referencing information. Anything else? Any question at all in regards to the research paper? Not now, maybe later on. Okay, that's good. That's cool. Right. Any questions about the course in general? Okay, moving on. Announcements. I have all the assessments for your course ready now. It took me some time, but you know, I had to ensure that whatever I'm going to give as the assessments, I'm able to cover it adequately before the due date of the assessment, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. Is there any announcement from the students they would like to inform us about anything? Can I know how many students are there in the ITS lab in Laudala campus? Anyone from the ITS lab on Laudala campus? Can I know how many students are sitting there? Is there anyone? Someone has written a chat. 2 at the moment. Okay, thank you, thank you. Is there any student that is assessing this from the Lautoka campus, the postgraduate lab in Lautoka campus? Another chat. Okay, yeah, totally understand. Sorry about that. The speaker in ITS lab is not working. So thank you for the chat. Thank you. So I assume there is no student accessing this from the Lautoka campus. I have been exchanging emails with a number of IS413 students, and this time around, this semester, IS413 is a very large class of 45 students, which is very unusual for a postgraduate course. And a number of students are scattered everywhere. Some of them are from Nandi, some of them are from Tailevu, Reki, Tavua. And with this way of delivering the course, the students are quite happy because come Thursday evening, they do not have to travel to Laudala campus or Lautoka campus or anywhere else, they are able to access this course from wherever they are. So just my comments on those. Anyway, moving on, these are the course assessments. Assignment 1, which is now available on your Google course page. Total is 20%. Of that, 15% is a report, and 5% is the presentation. And this is due in week 11. Sorry, what am I saying? This is due in week 12. So the report itself is due on Friday of week 12 at 4 p.m. and you will have to upload it on Moodle, and it will go through Turnitin. The presentation will happen on, it should be Thursday. You guys are not Tuesday students, you guys are Thursday students. So it should be Thursday. Yeah, all this should be Thursday. I mean, at the moment I'm getting confused and overwhelmed between my Tuesday class and Thursday class. Am I teaching IS413 at the moment? Yes or no?
Yes, 413.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see my screen? Can all of you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So assignment 1 is due in week 12, 20% of the assessment. From that, 15% is the report that you are going to submit, and 5% is the presentation that you are going to do on Thursday of week 12. Okay, I'm going to talk more about assignment 1 when I go on to the next slide. There's going to be a mid-semester test in week 10 of the normal USP semester, not our week 10, because by that time I'm expecting to catch up to USP's normal week 10. Again, that will happen during your lectures and tutorials on Thursday. So we'll probably have to figure something out for the students that are in our Lautoka campus. Assignment 2, the research paper, I already gave it to you and discussed at length during last week's lecture. 25% for the paper itself and 5% for the presentation. Presentation you are going to do in week 14, again during your Thursday's lecture and tutorial. And the research paper is due on Friday, 4 p.m. of week 15, and you will upload it through. You will upload it through Turnitin on Moodle. Okay, and then there is a final examination. It could be scheduled anywhere, either in week 16 or week 17 of the semester. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the assignment document that I've already uploaded in Moodle. So I'm going to share something new. There is, where is the document? Assignment 1. This should be it. Okay, so are all of you able to see this screen now? Are you able to see the assignment 1?
Yes.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right, so assignment 1 total is 28, sorry, assignment 1 total is 20%. And you are going to create an XML prototype that would be in the form of web pages, 15%. And you are going to present that prototype, 5%. So this is due in week 12 of the normal USP semester. The presentation you will do during your lectures and tutorials on Thursday. And the purpose of this assignment is to build a business application using XML coding. So XML is similar to HTML, but XML provides you with some extra functionalities that HTML cannot. And XML is very good for businesses because they are able to access databases and manipulate databases. And I'm going to give you, I have some slides on XML that I'm going to explain to you as we move along. So moving through very briefly, the general purpose of this assignment is so that you have some experience on designing and implementing applications. And for example, e-commerce applications and applications where you can book your tickets online, buy something online, or make reservations online. Can all of you please mute your microphone? Okay, so this is what you are going to do. You are going to draw an ER diagram anywhere between 4 and 8 entities. And you will select either anywhere between 4 and 6 entities, and you will create XML documents for those entities. Okay, so once we start looking at XML, things will get much clearer. Each XML should be modeled using elements, sub-elements, and attributes, and each of them should be populated with 10 instances. You will, you will develop an XML schema and validate it using an online XML validator. Okay, I think this noise is coming from the lab, the ITS lab, and you will develop a home page. So just a brief, I mean, at the moment, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with this assignment. I would like you to do some labs and some practice on using XML, and then we'll come back and revisit these assignments probably after 2 weeks and look at it, and then things will make much more sense. Anyway, talking about deliverables, you will do a presentation in week 12, and you will present these web pages that you have created. You will submit a report, and you will upload that report on Moodle. The upload link is already there. And your report should follow a template, which is further in the next page. So what are you going to create a prototype on? Your prototype would be either looking at some entities based on online grocery shopping or transportation, ticket booking, concert or cinema tickets, online bookstores, health insurance, sporting goods, auction sites, car insurance, flight booking, hotel booking, banking, car sales, mobile sales, tertiary education, and electronic retailers. So for presentation, you should prepare 3 or 4 PowerPoint slides, and you will present a working version of your prototype. That is, you click here. For example, if you are creating a, let's say, online train booking, so probably you will show the train schedule, the departure time, the price of uh, the ticket and other information, and how people are going to select that using the radio button or the drop down list and things like that. The normal. I mean, it will be a good idea to go and see a real life example of all this, and then build something of your own based on that. And after you complete your practical labs on HTML, XML, CSS, JavaScript, you should be able to do all those. Okay. This is the agenda for presentation. We won't bother about it too much, or we won't look at the details of it, but this is what you should be presenting. Now, your report should follow this template. It would include an introduction. It would include ER diagrams, XML design diagrams, XML documents, XML validation, XML displays, a home page. This is the home page that will be used for your demonstration, and references list. Okay. What I had forgotten most importantly is that you can do this assignment individually or in groups of 2. So going to the presentation again, if you are doing it individually, you will follow the same guidelines as those where students are doing it in a group of 2. Either you're doing the project individually or in a group, you get a maximum of 10 minutes to present. Okay. Anything else that I missed? Okay. Right. So, any questions or comments? Yeah, we lost connection. Yeah, somehow we lost connection, but we are back. Most of us are back. It's good. Uh, yes, Kunal. You don't have. Can you have groups of 3? Now, in groups of 3, there would not be enough sort of contribution from anyone, and I would like to keep it. Or since we will be working on research paper with 3 people. It will be easier for them. Oh, there's a lot of support. If people are railing against having groups of 3. So how many of you would like to have groups of 3? because I'm just following what happened in the last offering of this course. In the last offering of this course, this assignment was done in groups of 2. So I didn't want to break from tradition, but if there is a request from my students, and my students are important to me, there's a possibility I will change. How many of you want to do in groups of 3? Because what I've also seen is that a number of you have chosen the research topics in this course on an individual basis. So we'll go on a case by case. If you have, if you would like to do it, do this assignment. Yeah, I'm sorry, we keep on losing connection. We keep on losing connection. So as I was talking about the assignment, assignment 1, we'll go on a case-by-case basis. If you feel that there is a need for you to do this assignment in groups of 3 because you are doing the research paper in groups of 3, then we'll keep to that. Okay? Any other question? I might get disconnected again. I think the internet at the moment at this end is not very stable. So please bear with me. I'm getting these messages that my internet is not very stable. Nothing else about, or no other question on assignment 1? Okay, then we'll continue. So this was what assignment 1 was about. XML prototype and presentation. 15% for building the prototype and doing the report, and 5% for presenting it during week 12. Okay, there is going to be a mid-semester test in this course, and it will be a closed book test in week 10 during lecture time, and it will cover content that has been covered from week 1 to week 9. So most of you should be familiar with mid-semester test, because the mid-semester test is mid-semester tests are very common assessment at USP. So I don't think there would be any questions about that. The research paper we have already talked about it at length during last week's lecture. This is a major component of the course, a major assessment of the course, and this is the assessment that is going to decide what final grades you are going to get, whether you are going to get a B or an A, because it's like 1/3 of the total assessment of the course. And so there is 5% presentation on your research that you are going to do in week 14, again during your lecture, tutorial, and lab times. And there is a research paper, 25%, that you are going to write and submit to me for grading purposes towards your course. For those that did not join last week and were not here, what I told the students was that one of the intentions of this research paper assignment or research paper assessment is for you to get a publication, a paper publication that is published by a ranked and indexed journal. So what is going to happen is you are going to write this research paper and you are going to submit it to me. And then after that, I will grade it to give a percentage out of 25% and add it towards your coursework and provide a final grade. After that, you will no longer be my student. So what we can do is we can become co-authors and enhance that research paper that you have written for the course so that it could be submitted to an indexed and ranked journal. And we'll see how it goes from there. Of course, I will need your explicit permission because that is your intellectual property. And if you want to collaborate with me, you would like to invite me as a co-author, then what I would do is I'll review and edit and modify your paper for a journal publication. But that is something that we are going to look at later. There is a final examination in week 17. We are not sure. It will either happen in week 16 or week 17. 2 weeks are dedicated for final examinations. So based on the scheduling for this final examination, it could be either week 16 or week 17. And again, there is not much to say about final examinations because you are well aware of them. Okay, I'm going to again stop here for 1 or 2 minutes for any questions or clarifications or comments in regards to the assessments of this course. I have talked about all the assessments in this course now. Please feel free to speak. Okay.
Sir, I have a question. Will the tutorials and material be uploaded weekly, on a weekly basis?
Just because tutorials are not really part of the assessment, I will only upload tutorials when there is a need for me to share something new. And I mean tutorial for discussion. But the labs, that is part, a critical component of this course for you to be able to do assignment 1, will be uploaded on a regular basis.
Okay.
Ashnil, your chat is going to everyone. Okay, anyone else? Any other question? Moving on, feel free to send me an email if you have any doubts, you need any clarification, or if you need, if there is any confusion, or if you'd like to ask me something, feel free to send me an email. At the moment, be mindful that I am 4 hours behind you guys in Fiji, so if you send me an email at 8 a.m. in the morning, it is 4 a.m. for me and I'm still sleeping. Apart from that, if there is a need for me to show you something or to demonstrate something, I'll zoom into you. We'll connect through Zoom and I'll show it on my laptop and so forth. So moving on, what you will see on your course Moodle page is I have uploaded activities for the third lecture that is happening next week. So next Thursday for lecture 3 on mobile cloud computing, we are going to do something different. And we are going to make it a bit interesting, and I would like to stop you dozing off to my monotonous voice and boring speech and talks and all that. So what I have done is, sorry, I'll show it to you now. Can all of you see this? Week 3, lecture 3, activities on mobile cloud computing?
Yes.
Okay, so the next lecture for week 3 is on mobile cloud computing. I have already uploaded 6 journal articles, research papers on mobile cloud computing. So what you will do, all of you individually, will prepare 2 or 3 slides on mobile cloud computing as if you were teaching the topic. And there will be 1 more additional references slide. Your slides should not have words only because it becomes too boring. And this time around, I'll be on the receiving end, so I don't want to get bored. So what will happen is through Zoom, each of you will share the information from your slides to everyone else, right? And we will sit and listen to whatever you have got to share, maybe ask you questions. And each student gets a minimum of 4 minutes and a maximum of 6 minutes to speak. But I will look at the participants logged in, connected to Zoom next week, and I'll decide how many minutes you get. Or maybe we'll just go 4 minutes each. So if there is 30 of you and each of you speak 4 minutes each, we are already looking at 120 minutes. And that's the lecture done. Maybe we'll go less. Okay? Let's see how many of you will be online next week. I mean, the other thing is, it's not let's see how many of you are going to be online. All of you should be getting online. Okay, we are moving ahead. It will come to such a time that it will start getting difficult to catch up. So, as I said, I have uploaded 6 papers on mobile cloud computing. One of the slides will contain information from one of these papers, and you can choose whichever paper you want to work on. So, out of the 6 papers, you will definitely have to do a comprehensive read of one of the papers. The other 1 or 2 slides will be from your own research. I want you to do your own research on mobile cloud computing. Look at some papers, read some papers, and create another 1 or 2 slides from that research. Make sure you reference your research properly. That's why you get an additional slide just to include references. So if you end up with 3 slides, the maximum you can go is 4. The fourth one is the reference one. If you have 2 slides, the maximum you can go is 3. The third one is reference. Okay, so as I said that I'm going to get you started with the research paper writing, which is the major component, major assessment of your course. And this is what I want to share, and this is how I do it. As an active researcher, one of the things I want to do is I want to keep my research current, relevant, and valid. So I do not want to use old papers. So I am using papers only from the last 5 years. And that's good enough. For me, anything older than 5 when it comes to technologies like cloud computing, mobile cloud computing, or any ICT is too old and probably obsolete. Okay? So last 5 years is good to go. And then I ensure that I have got papers that were important, because each year, even when we are talking about mobile cloud computing, each year researchers can dwell on or focus on a different approach of mobile cloud computing. For example, in 2015, there could be, everyone is concerned about security of mobile cloud computing, authentication, verification. The next year, right in the beginning, everyone is looking at what research can be conducted, future research directions, or what benefits and opportunities are there that could be provided by mobile cloud computing. And in some years, something else, and then maybe 5 years down the line, you have gone on to something new because you have refined the technology. So there's a paper each from 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, and there are 2 papers from 2014. And that's when around 2012 was the beginning of people started talking about mobile cloud computing. Some papers came out in 2013 on mobile cloud computing, but 2014 this topic was really trending. Okay, so there's 2 papers from there. The other thing is that each paper that I have downloaded was very well cited, and the citations is increasing in its year of publication. And the papers are generally looking at mobile cloud computing and research direction. So at the moment, at your level, I mean, at a postgraduate level, I cannot ask you to start looking at algorithms, security algorithms, or tire networks, or encryption within the mobile cloud computing. And we cannot go really deep. So these are like general papers about mobile cloud computing, what it can do, applications, surveys, taxonomy, literature review, and some future research direction. So if you haven't picked a topic yet for your research topic, if I were in your place, I would seriously think about mobile cloud computing, because half the work is done. I have named the papers using APA reference style. So if I am to show you the Moodle page, where is that Moodle page? Three. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was looking at participants. I always check who's been active and who's been coming on and assessing the Moodle course page, and looking at, and this gives me some idea of who's active and who's not active, and sort of builds a first impression about who you are. Anyway, so we are in there we go, IS413. So what I want to do is turn it around so that I can have a view of what you guys will see as students. Can you still see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Okay. So moving down, that is your assignment 1. This is where you are going to upload it. Assignment 2, this is where you are going to upload it. This is where I'm going to update which research topics have been taken and are no longer available. So these are your lectures. This is a lecture for today. This is the lecture 3 activity that I've just talked about. This is what I meant. If you look at the file name of this paper or how I have named it, this is exactly if I was using this paper in my research paper. Maybe I did a literature review of this research paper. In my references, I will exactly go like this, minus that 25 in square brackets. Because the 25 in square bracket represents, where did it go? Represents the number of times it was cited, number of times it was cited already. Okay, so it's well cited. Or this I've used APA reference star, so that when publishing the paper, what I do is I just copy and paste it in the reference. I do not have to type it. And I'm going to talk more about this once I get on campus. As I've told my other students, is that one of the first things I would do is organize a research seminar on how to write research papers for the faculty and for the School of Computing and Mathematical Sciences, and I will invite all masters, PhD, and I would like you students to attend as well. So the number in square brackets indicates the number of times it has been cited. And this is a good indication that the paper is well accepted within academic and research community. If a paper is not cited, then it becomes very hard for me to get convinced to use that paper and to cite that paper, because I'm thinking that, yeah, one of the things is that if I read the paper and I really like it, then I will read it again. Because if I'm going to cite a paper, that means if I'm going to cite a paper in my research paper, it means I'm giving validation to that paper. I'm accepting that paper. Okay, so we need to be very careful when we do that. So yeah, these above hints are just to get you started with a research paper. All right. Any questions about your activity for next week? All right. We will take a short break. I think I have spoken almost about everything, and then we will have 1 hour left. And what we are going to do is I will go use 30 minutes for the lecture on cloud computing, and use the next 30 minutes for the lecture on XML. Okay, so we'll take a short break. All right. We'll get started. We'll continue from where we left off. And what we are going to do is look at lecture slides on cloud computing, and then for 20 minutes, or let's say, yeah, for 20 minutes we'll look at lecture slide, 25 minutes lecture slides on cloud computing, what is cloud computing, and then we will spend some time on looking at XML. So, right. Let's get going. What I have in the lecture slides over here. Before I continue, can all of you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And you can see the lecture slides, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much. All right. Let's get going. So, a quick historical overview of cloud computing, definition and architecture, essential characteristics of cloud computing. Many organizations, many ICTs claim to be doing cloud computing. How can we check that they actually are? We look at cloud service models, who does what, advantages of moving applications to the cloud, and types of cloud computing applications. Types of cloud service models. So let's get going. Historical overview. So cloud computing is relatively new, around 2000 and so. So we are just like 17, 18 years down the line. Phrase coined by Ramnath Chalappa, an academic in the US. And he said that what happened with the computing itself was that we started with centralized computing, where when we had the client server system, and then the IT industry, the ICT industry sort of got decentralized, and everyone started doing their own thing. And this is where they realized that there were a loss of resources, because let's say I have 20 people working for me, and giving them 20 powerful computers each does not make sense, because all these 20 people will not be using the computers 24/7. There will be so much idle time on the computer. And the question is, why should I pay for such idle time? And that's what has made the provision of cloud computing services very popular. That is, you only pay for what you need, and you only pay for what you require. So again, going by my example, one thing I can do is, if I've started a company that needs to use computers for its business, processing everything, the need of ICT is critical. One of the things I can do is I can establish an IT department in my company, and I buy 20 computers. Now, the cost of these 20 computers, establishing the IT department, paying the IT staff, paying for maintenance, paying for repairs, paying for storage, paying for whatever else, I would end up paying a lot if I want to do it on my own, and if I want to centralize it. The other option is to use the services, the computing resources provided by a cloud service provider. So let's say on Tuesday, I need only 10 computers for 4 hours. So I'm going to pay for only those 4 hours of for the usage of 10 computers, and I'm not going to pay a single cent extra. And if I had bought those computers on Tuesday, I would have wasted 20 hours of my computer resources because it would not be used. So that's what essentially cloud computing is about. It is a on-demand service when and wherever you want. Okay, and one of the essential requirements to be computing in the cloud is to have connectivity and internet connection. Okay, Salesforce started in 1999, and the good thing about Salesforce was that it introduced customer relationship management in the cloud, and this enabled uh, companies, large corporate companies in countries like UK and US, to outsource their call centers to countries that have cheaper labor, like India, but people that could speak English quite well, and to other countries where there were cheaper labor and the population could increase, could speak English quite well. And that's why, I mean, at the moment, I mean, if you are in countries like New Zealand, Australia, UK, US, or anywhere else, if you call for support, your call will end up in India or somewhere in the Philippines or some Bangladesh or some other place. And because customer relationship management is now or can be facilitated through the cloud. And this is exactly the scenario that I was talking about. So, Amazon started by selling books online, and then it grew, and then it invested very heavily in computing resources. And at that time, in 2002, Amazon was using only 10% of its computing resources. 90% was idle. Just because they had money and they could, they did. They bought huge amounts of computing resources, uh, servers, and things like that. And they realized that, for goodness sake, we are using only 10% of it, 90% is idle. And that's when Amazon decided, why don't we rent out this idle space? People can use it. We are not using it. People can use it. Anyone who wants can use it. And in 2002 was the birth of what we today know as Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud, or more commonly known as EC2. In the same year, Google came up with its Google Docs and other Google services. So IBM came in, server farms and so forth. NASA deployed open source software for private and hybrid clouds. Apple launched iCloud 2011, this 6-7 years ago. And Oracle came up with iCloud and started providing the software as a database as a service. So definition of cloud computing, this is the well-known, this is the definition from NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, United States government department. This is the definition that everyone uses and has become the universal definition of cloud computing. You can read it yourself. Next one is by IBM, delivery of on-demand computing resources, everything from applications to data centers. But this is the one I like. Cloud computing is using the internet to access someone else's software running on someone else's hardware in someone else's data center. A very simple and applicable definition without any jargons. That's what the architecture of cloud computing looks like. Service models, deployment models, and essential characteristics. And talking about essential characteristics of cloud computing, there is, so to decide whether a service provider or an ICT company that claims to be a cloud-based ICT company, we check for these 5 essential characteristics. Number 1, on-demand service. That is, the consumer can go and pick and choose how much of computing resources is needed, when, for how long, and based on these selections, the consumer is appropriately charged. It is what we call is pay-as-you-use service or pay-as-you-go service. Next one, broad network access. These services can be accessed from anywhere. And this is where these smartphones have gained their popularity from. If cloud computing was not available, the way we use smartphones, the way we are able to check our emails from smartphones, browse the internet, social media, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot, YouTube videos, these are all running on the cloud computing platform. So nowadays, it has become, the scenario is such that all you need is a smartphone, and the connectivity would be provided by your internet service provider or your telecom provider. And I think most of you are doing that, because I could see some of you students accessing or watching this lecture from your mobile phones, and some of you were riding. I would like to point out, riding in a car, not driving the car. Okay, thankfully. So what it means is that, I mean, I do not know what the access speed, the internet penetration rate and costing is nowadays, but I still understand that Vodafone and Digicel is one of the major telecom providers, network providers, still in Fiji, and they are able to sell you packages where you can access internet and other web services through your mobile phones. And that is one of the characteristics of cloud computing. The other one is resource pooling. That is, let's say, for example, take Amazon, for example. As I said, when Amazon invested very heavily in computing resources, it had 90% of its resources that were lying idle and not doing anything. So the cloud computing service providers can pool these resources. They do not have to be in one place. Some resources can be in US, some resources can be in somewhere in Europe, some resources can be in somewhere in Asia, and you can pool all these resources together to provide it to your consumers. And a lot of companies are now using cloud computing services to provide service to its customers, because its customer base is no longer geographically confined. It has a globalized customer base, and customers can access or can access support from anywhere. And that's why it is saying using a multi-tenant model with different physical and virtual resources, dynamically assigned and reassigned according to consumer demand. So as soon as I've stopped using the resources are free now. It will be assigned to someone else. As soon as an organization has booked from, let's say, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the resources, and not enough resources are available, it can allocate resources from somewhere else, or it can borrow resources or hire resources from somewhere else and give it to. I mean, this is just like going to hire a rental car. You go to a rental car company and they don't have rental cars, but they get it from some other rental car company and hire it to you. Elasticity, that is, you can scale in and scale out. Today you need 10 computers for 4 hours, no problem, fine. Tomorrow you need 30 computers for 6 hours, you can scale out. And the next day you need only 4 computers for 3 hours, again, no problem. So again, with the such technology, your resources are not getting wasted. And the last one is measured service. That what happens is that as a consumer and as a cloud service provider, you can automatically control the usage of services to your consumers. And this is what the network providers do. This is what the internet service providers do, because we buy packages from them. We buy internet services packages from them, we buy network packages from them, and we say, okay, our package is this amount of bandwidth, our package is this much amount of download, our package is that much amount of upload, our package is this internet speed. And this is again a functionality of the cloud service model. Whatever you pay for, you are going to get there. So they are able to, measure the service that is being provided, as well as it can be monitored, it can be controlled, it can be reported, and if you are using cloud computing services, you will be able to get a report, or you will be able to generate a report on to ensure that you are getting what you are paid for. Okay, looking at cloud service models, basically the services, the different types of services that can be provided by the cloud computing services provider, and how it can be configured and provisioned as and when required. So the three ones, very popular: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. Software as a service, very common with Google Docs and others. If you do not open Office or Office 365, when you do not have a word processing software of your own, you can go and use Google Docs. You can go and use spreadsheets provided by Google. You can use software provided by other open source software providers, or software provided for, and most of these at the moment that I'm talking about, the reason why I'm saying Google Docs and all this is because they're free. Then platform as a service, that is, you need a platform to launch your other in-house applications. Infrastructure as a service, again, for a company that does not have anything at all, but they can get the entire infrastructure and full use of computing resources. Okay, So we started with the phase 3 basic one, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. But now we have expanded to communication, storage, database, desktop, and what is the last one? Network. So most of these are simple and straightforward. Infrastructure is the actual infrastructure that contains, let's say, an entire IT department. Now you can rent an entire IT department for your organization, for your company. And as going by my earlier example, that saves you a lot of money because that saves you upfront capital of investing thousands and thousands of dollars in buying IT equipment. And once you buy IT equipment, you have to maintain it. You have to train users. You will need technicians. You will need hardware specialists. You will need network engineers. You will need all this. And then you have to worry about security, cyber security, and all that. Why do you want to do all this? Why do you want to go through all that crap? Okay? You can just hire it out. Platform. If you already have a minimal IT infrastructure and you want to build more, then you can use a platform provided by one of these providers. And on that, you can build a number of things. And these are very good for databases. And there are many platforms like Oracle iCloud and others available to be building your own database and to be providing services to customers. So I'm going to browse through that because we do not have much time left. I would like to show you, talk to you a bit about XML. Software as a service, I've already talked about that. Communication, I mean, nowadays, gone are the days where we use telephones. I mean, I haven't used I haven't used my phone for the last 5 days. I haven't called anyone. I hardly ever use a landline in my office. It's all voice over IP. There's WhatsApp, there's Viber, there's Facebook Messenger, and there's a number of things that is available. So any new organization that is coming up, any new company that is coming up, they're not asking for dedicated telephone lines. They're just asking for data lines. And on data lines, you can use voice. So again, this communication as a service is more applicable to call centers and data centers that support users and customers that call into an organization's help desk. Storage. Database, data marts, data warehouses. Desktop, virtual desktops. And network. Okay, and I'm going to browse through it. Who does what? Over here, that is on-premises software. The customer manages everything. Over here, infrastructure as a service. The customer manages on the application, data, and operating side. The cloud service provider manages the servers, virtualization, storage, and networking. And these are the examples. The same thing for platform as a service. The customer manages applications and data. The rest is managed by the vendor. And these are the examples. Software as a service, the vendor manages everything, okay? And the customer just uses it. And again, good examples are Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. What is happening here? Okay. Cloud applications that are available or that you can build upon, some examples: Oracle Cloud Solutions, Microsoft, Salesforce, Zero, enterprise resources planning. The advantages of moving applications to the cloud. This is the last slide that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to move on to XML. It's efficient, smaller, lower cost, faster. It is redundant, that is, you have a backup. I mean, if something happens to your organization, there's a natural disaster or anything, all your services are in the cloud. So you don't have anything to worry about. Dedicated application-specific servers, reliable and fault-tolerant, and the skills are already available. All you've got to do is demand whatever you need. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I mean, the rest of the slides, I think another 7 slides. You can go through it on your own. Any questions before I move on to XML?
Nope.
Okay. All right then. All right. All good. So, what is the XML PowerPoint? I'm going to put this PowerPoint on Moodle as well, because this is, I just finalized it, I mean, just before your lecture. Okay. So, what is happening? Over here. All right. Can all of you see this?
Yes.
All right. So XML, you must have heard about HTML, CSS, and so forth. Why XML? As I explained earlier, that XML has functionalities that is more to do with the back end of a web page. With the HTML and CSS, you can make very nice web pages, but when it comes to assessing databases and processing user requests, then XML is a better language. So what is XML? Extensible Markup Language. What we are going to look at is what we are going to talk about is XML, the various ways in which it can be used, and the technologies that is used, or what XML is used for, and how it is being used in the industry. So this is an example. It doesn't, sorry, this is HTML. Okay, you should be familiar with it now. Did you come across HTML or use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or other web technologies, or even XML in any previous courses?
Yes.
Oh, all of you? That makes my work very easy. Oh, that's good. That's good. All of you? Goodness. How come some of you are saying no? I think all of you graduated from the same university. Oh. There's mixed responses. Anyway, so I will upload some tutorials on XML, and you can go through that, learn about that. So this very first assignment one is mainly HTML, and then the home page that you are going to develop is, sorry, assignment one is mainly XML, but the home page that you are going to develop is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript if required. Okay, yes. So, okay. Now I understand why some of you did XML, some of you did not, because some of you majored in CS, some of you majored in IS. Then again, within IS, you had different streams. So, not a problem at all. We will do XML on the assumption that we all have zero knowledge. Okay, so HTML has been good. We have used it very well, and we are still using it. I mean, all these web pages that you visit daily on a regular basis, they are based on HTML, but HTML is good enough for the front end, for making the web pages look good, and for the web pages to be displayed in a decorative manner. Some of the things that is listed down here, HTML cannot define new data formats. There is a limitation of what you can do with the HTML tags. You cannot create your new tags on your own. It's just like, using a Microsoft product and then using an open source product. So with the open source product, you've got the flexibility to change whatever you want and to do whatever you can. With the HTML, you cannot. You are confined and you are constrained. XML is a meta language. It is used for creating new markup languages. So HTML hypertext markup language is a language, but XML, what we could say is like HTML is the child and HTML is the parent. It enables you to create new markup languages. It is really good for business because you are able to create element types that are not available in HTML, and it is central for business to business and internal communications. And it has roots in electronic data interchange. It helps separate content from style. It works with CSS, cascading style sheets, and XSL and of Web 2. It is used in Microsoft's channel definition format, resource definition format, and open software description. One of the reasons behind the development of XML is to support a variety of applications. It can be used straightforward over the internet, easy to write programs, and documents are human legible, that is, human beings can recognize what is written. XML is used everywhere for data specification, documentation, configuration, databases, in repositories, and any application. The web itself, the web pages on the World Wide Web uses HTTP, TCP, IP, and a host of other, for example, your web browser, whether you are using Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, Firefox. These web browsers, what they do is they render the HTML codes that you have written. And when rendered, they produce the web pages that you see when you go to any particular website. So that is what is happening on the web at the moment. So comparing HTML and XML, XML is used to mark up data, so it can be processed by computers, whereas HTML is just to show the web pages to users. HTML uses codes and tags like the paragraph tag, the header tag, emphasis tag, line break, font, italics, whereas with XML, there is only content and meaning of it, and therefore more towards the semantic web side of it. HTML is a fixed number of tags that can be used. If you need new ones, you can create them in XML. They almost look similar because they are born out of SGML, that is the very first markup language when the very first web page was created, standard generalized markup language. And they look similar, and they both have the text and elements. They both use attributes. For example, of a particular text, you can decide that that text would appear on the web page with the banana font, and the size will be +1 and it will be in red. And they both use entities. Next comparison, HTML is for humans, describes web pages, XML describes data. HTML allows for errors, so sometimes you go to a web page, there is an error, and the user is able to see that error. But with XML, errors are not allowed. So XML is like a programming language. With HTML, browsers ignore and correct many HTML errors. So HTML is often sloppy. With the XML, most browsers can display XML. So these are the things that you would come across, and some of these are in assignment 1 already. Document type definition, XML schema, cascading style sheets, extensible style sheet language transformations. Okay, what CSS is for HTML, XSLT is for XML. Document object model, simple API for XML, and Java API for XML processing. So with XML, it is very easier to define document types where you need information in regards to customer profiles, vendor profiles, catalogs. It's just like it gives you the ability to define databases using the XML language. Price list, purchase orders, invoices, inventory reports. So there is this formal definition of permitted elements and attributes, and that's your data type, document type definition, DTD or schema. This is an example of a catalog entry in XML, and you can see that instead of using codes, it is directly using words like computer, manufacturer, line, model, specifications. So these tags like model, memory, price, you cannot define in HTML, but in XML, you can define them and it will recognize them. So looking at the previous example, computer and specifications provide logical containers for extracting and manipulating product information sorted by manufacturer, speed, weight, and price. And this is like a normal query that you are going to do from database tables. For example, you wanted to convert price from US dollars to euros or yens. Electronic data interchange commerce and XML commerce. XML is optimized for easy programming, requires web, it is cheap, uses your existing internet connection. The message format is learned in hours, only requires JavaScript, Visual Basic, Python, or Perl. Whereas if you were implementing whatever you were doing using EDI solution, then it will be a bit expensive because you will need an EDI server, and you will use a value-added network that is going to be costly, and it will take months to master the EDI message formats. So this is an example of two companies connecting to each other, and they are able to connect and communicate with the e-commerce servers directly. And most of the processing is automatic. Human intervention is not needed. So company 1 and company 2 agree to have the same document format. XML document exchanges. Request for a catalog or request for a purchase order, and most of the time it is automatically filled. It doesn't require a human being to fill to complete that. I mean, it is just like we go to let's say a website, and we say that show me all journal articles, or maybe a library website or something. Show me all journal articles from January to June of 2018, and it is done automatically. Structured data, okay. This is like a normal representation when a website is made to read information from a database or something, and this is how XML will represent it, and it is very easy to identify. For example, over here, what is 1498? We do not know, but here we know 1498 is a price. So it is an open standard, interoperable, used on almost all devices. There is strict rules, syntax, structure, and it is case sensitive. Who uses XML? Everyone. So the components of an XML are elements, attributes, and processing instructions. And again, this is another example. So you have elements and elements with attributes, and this is the processing instructions where integer value is 9.3. Rules for well-formed XML: there must be one and only one root element. Sub-elements must be properly nested. Attributes are optional. Attributes values must be enclosed in quotation marks. Processing instructions are optional, and XML is case sensitive. Example of nesting using XML. So this is not proper because child 2 is a subset of child 1, and child 3 is probably a subset of child 2. So a better nesting, still not good enough. This is a better nesting. Child 1, child 2, and child 3. Another example. So this is the XML header. Most of the time, this is what you are going to start with. And most of your, once you, I'm not sure, I'm not sure about Notepad, but most of the other editors that you are going to use Notepad++, or if you're using Apple Mac Text Wrangler or other cute HTML editors, as we call them, because they're colorful, will automatically have the headers and things there once you identify what you are creating, whether you're creating a XML or HTML. Oh, that's it. We are in. Did we come to an end? Yep, that's it. So it's time to stop, and I will take any final questions before we end for the day. Any questions at all? Any questions, comments? There's a question on the chat. Who's this? Okay, no, we're different. Okay, so I mean, these are basically responses to my questions of whether you have used XML or not. Along with XML, we are supposed to use Java or Microsoft Web API. Kunal, what I suggest is there's a number of things here. So at the moment, it seems like a code to me. Send me an email and I will think about it and respond. Anyone else? Any other question? Is the last lecture loads on Moodle? Yes, it is. Under week 1. Everyone is chatting. No one wants to speak. Probably too tired listening to me. Anyway, good news. Next week, I'm going to listen to you guys. If there's nothing at all, people are already leaving without saying goodbye. If we can have some XML tutorial relevant to the assignment questions, yes, it is coming. It should be there by next week. Okay, so, yep. Have a good night and see you next week.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.